Greater Sandton and beyond. Get ready for the Sandton Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander.
Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond, welcome to the Sandton Times Hour, also available on all leading digital audio platforms. If you'd like to get in touch, you can do so by using the email address editor@sandtontimes.co.za. You can connect on social media at Sandton Times and visit the website www.sandtontimes.co.za and send through your questions, your comments, your feedback. All of those are welcome. And talking about welcome, a very special welcome to everyone listening for the very first time. Or if you've been listening regularly and you're part of the Sandton Times Hour Nation, well, very special welcome to you as well. You're in Johannesburg, you're in Pretoria, you're across South Africa, and anywhere and everywhere else in the world, listening online and on air. Well, I'm happy to report that all is well in Sandtonland. And as always, Vincenzo joins me behind the mixing desk, although this week a little bit sad, are you? Italy's out of the Euro. I'm so sorry. I watched that game, and very unfortunate. So I guess your bets are out for Italy making it to the final. At least Germany's still in. I'm still happy about that, even though it was a very, very dramatic game over the weekend. But yeah, it's a downward run now, hey? July, and it's all downhill now to December, and it's the second half of the year, and you kind of think, well, if I haven't done what I needed to do by now, then am I still going to get it done in the next 6 months? Well, I better do it. Otherwise, 2024 is over and it becomes a 2025 goal. So, what did we get up to this week? Gee, it's been a really busy week. And I know I say this every single week, but this week's really been a big one. So let me take you through the diary for the week. The week kicked off with catching Skulk Besadenhout in Sandton. And as always, he was in top form and had us in stitches. So a great performance there by Skulk. Then a great tour and lunch of Rockets in Bryanston, and I'll be bringing you a bit more about that this hour. Then Photon, all the way from China, they launched their new range of vehicles in South Africa, and also the Trophy Spirits Show awarded some of the well-deserving alcoholic beverages that deserved some accolade on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, All Gold had a very jovial lunch in Waterfall, and then in the evening, it was time for Product of the Year, and their winners were announced at an event in Fourways. Friday, ASUS launched an AI laptop, and that was quite fascinating. I learned a whole bunch about AI social media influencers. This is the next thing. And trust me, it is as confusing and concerning and fascinating all at the same time. And then on the weekend, ESPN hosted its annual Sports Fest in Sandton, and I managed to just have enough energy and time to watch the Proteas miss another cricket glory by just a breath. And what a great game it was. Right till the last minute, we were all holding on for them to do something amazing. And then, I spoke about the Euro, so I'm not going to touch on that again, but it's been a really busy weekend, and we've gotten enough energy together to do our weekly show, which is amazing. So another exciting week coming up in so many ways, but it's also my father's 90th birthday on the 4th of July, and I could not be happier or prouder of him to celebrate this magnificent milestone, and maybe we even get a chance to have a quick interview with him next week, Vincenzo. Let's see if he's up for it. Right, what are we talking about this week? In a bit, I'll be connecting with a luxury brand consultant in Portugal to understand the concept of luxury, its evolution, and what the next phase of luxury is. I'm sure you'll find this as fascinating as I do. And then I'll be catching up with the new group executive chef at Rockets to chat about his career and the new menu that he's got lined up, so stay listening for that. And finally, I had a chance to catch up with the man looking after one of our province's most important public transport systems. All this and more coming up in the next hour.
Show some love.
subscribe, share,
Leave a review and rating for the Sandton Times Hour.
on your favorite podcast app now.
The best of Sandton and beyond.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
Now, a couple of weeks ago, it might even be months by now, I had the pleasure of speaking at a conference in Turkey. And the great thing about these conferences is that you get to meet people from all around the world. You get to get expertise from different sectors. This one was specifically a conference around exotic wedding planning. But as part of the program, there was a very interesting gentleman there who's going to join me in just a minute, who spoke about the topic of luxury. And we know how big luxury is in South Africa and across the continent. We are, I think, probably one of the highest consumers of luxury goods in one way or another. If you go to Sandton City just down the road or across the road from me, I mean, Diamond Walk is forever packed with queues outside of Gucci, outside of Louis Vuitton, Hermes. The list is endless. So I thought, well, it would be great to bring back this conversation that I had with him back to South Africa and to give you a quick insight into Antonio Paraiso. He's a marketing consultant and a public speaker on luxury marketing. He is involved in strategy and in innovation. He studied luxury brand management and is educated across Europe. He's lived in multiple European countries, including the UK, Spain, Germany, and Turkey. He's currently residing in Portugal, and he's been in business for over 30 years. So it's quite a bit of experience, and he's collaborated with the World Business Forum and also contributes to a lot of international magazines and articles. And with such an illustrious CV, I'm thrilled that he's made the time to chat to us. Antonio, it's great to have you on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thank you, Alexander. My pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
Antonio, let's talk about the concept of luxury. If we talk about the word luxury, and often I feel like it's used very casually in a lot of different sectors and a lot of different products, what are we talking about when we talk about luxury?
Interesting question. Yes. Many people talk about luxury and they talk it in many different ways and with different meanings. But if we go down a little bit more technical into the concept, luxury is basically a sociological phenomenon of consumption. It's a way of consuming, and I would say it's also a mindset thing. It's a way of life. It has to do with the way you feel, the way you behave, and the way you live. And luxury makes you feel special. So basically, people buy luxury goods and services because they want to feel special and happy. I say many times, I say that luxury is the business of the ego.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we see it a lot, I think especially in South Africa. We notice that people do gravitate towards luxury products that are very brand intense. So it's not a very discretionary or discreet branding. It's very much very clear what you're wearing. If you're wearing a specific handbag,
Yes,
specific
yes,
shoes or
yes.
jerseys. How has this evolved over the years, though? Because I think I remember you mentioning that luxury used to be a very sort of also splashy, excessive experience. So it wasn't about sort of being very sort of conservative. It was about showing off and having in excess.
It has always been, and it will always be. But I mean, there is, first of all, there is not such thing as one luxury. There are many different luxuries. I will not bore you with the details, but when I studied luxury brand management, like 15 years ago, in a good European business school, the first thing we learn is that there's a pyramid, somewhat similar to the Maslow pyramid of the needs, but this one is the pyramid of luxury with 4 levels. And so there are 4 different levels of luxury. You cannot say that Porsche is the same luxury as Rolls-Royce or Bugatti. Or you cannot say that Tommy Hilfiger is the same luxury as Hermes. Or you cannot say that Longines is the same luxury as Rolex or Patek Philippe. So in every product category, there are different levels of luxury. Also, on the other hand, a recent study by Boston Consulting Group found out that there are 12 different consumer profiles in the luxury industry. So luxury is not all alike, and consumers are also not all alike. So some consumers might prefer discreet consumption. Some others are all about showing off. Some of them like showing off to everybody in public. Some others like showing off, but in private, just for their closest friends and not to the public in general. So there's a very diverse, wide array of different behaviors. But having said that, How has luxury evolved over time? It is believed that luxury as a sociological phenomenon of consumption has been started in the Roman Empire before Christ in the year 27 because of the ostentatious behaviors of the Roman emperors. And then luxury has been evolving slowly and steadily over the decades and the centuries, through the Crusades, and then the Renaissance, and then the Enlightenment, and then the 19th century until today. And basically, you know what? Luxury basically follows the evolution of society. Luxury brands are very careful analyzing and understanding the evolution of society, and they tend to follow it. That's the only way of staying relevant and evolving naturally. I'll give you an example. When I studied luxury brand management like 15 or 16 years ago, absolutely nobody was talking about sustainability. And nowadays, it's a big thing. All luxury brands, from fashion to watches, to jewelry, to automobiles, to hotels, all luxury brands are talking about being sustainable, and they are worried about the planet, and they are implementing sustainability programs. Why? Well, because society has evolved in that direction. So you see, this is how luxury evolves.
I'm chatting to Antonio Paraiso, marketing consultant and public speaker on luxury marketing. A quick comfort break and more of this conversation straight after the break. Stay right where you are.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
I'm picking up on a chat to Antonio Paraiso, marketing consultant and public speaker on luxury marketing. Before the break, you provided us with a bit of a definition and history of luxury. You touched on the subject of sustainability as a very important development. Is this also something that is very much driven by a new generation of luxury consumers? Is that they are going against the norm of what we've known luxury to be up until this point?
Oh, yes. It's always about the younger generations. And it has always been. Old generations buying luxury today, they have been young at some point.
Yes.
But yes, today it's more, and I'll tell you why. Because there are new generations of people under 40 years of age with immense wealth. They have made money in industry, in technology, and in many different businesses. And they are young, they are under 40, they have different values from their parents and grandparents, and they want a different luxury. So they are sort of demanding from luxury brands a new behavior and a new way of being in the market. So yes, and luxury brands are understanding. Technology and digital is another example. I mean, luxury brands in the past were never about digital. And when digital started becoming important, in the beginning, luxury brands were hesitant. But then they realized that we live in a digital society. And they had to embrace digital, and they started doing it. Luxury brands are not quick to embrace new trends. Actually, we don't use the word trend in luxury. Trends are temporary. Luxury, by definition, is timeless. So luxury follows the evolution of society, but slowly and steadily. When these new trends come up, like digital or sustainability or diversity and inclusion, they take some time to understand whether this is a quick, short, temporary trend, or whether this is something that came to stay. So they do not adopt immediately. They always take time to reflect on how to embrace that new way of being and way of living, so to say.
Well, it's interesting to talk about the timeless element, because I think that's a very good way of describing the entire luxury category. Yeah. And having the situation where, like you said, they have to embrace this new thing, whatever that is, that comes along, be it a platform or be it a way of approaching things. But at the same time, you still need to be able to look back on it 30 years later and say, well, they were current with the time, but it was a very fine balance between being, on point with where the world is, and yet still having that legacy, that sort of provenance that the brand has had for the last 200 years.
Yes. How do they stay relevant and current over time?
Yeah.
That's a challenge, to be honest. We see some brands making mistakes, and then they correct them and they go back. It also depends on the level of luxury they are. But I would say that the main way, or the only way probably, of staying relevant and current over time is by following the evolution of society. There's no other way. Although it's challenging. For instance, society became digital over the last 20 years. In the beginning, luxury brands were hesitant. Chanel didn't want it. Hermès didn't want it. Rolls-Royce didn't want it. But for instance, Dolce & Gabbana, Versace, and Prada, they embraced it immediately. And of course, because they were quicker embracing digital, they made some mistakes in the beginning. And then they understood and corrected. And then the others followed later. And now everybody is using digital, and everybody is in the digital platforms and in communicating in digital with digital media. But there's always, some of them are quicker, some embracing it, some of them are slower. But sooner or later, they understand that this is not a trend. Digital is not a trend. Sustainability is not a trend. It's something that came to stay. It's part of the evolution of society. You see, like, for instance, LVMH, which is a big financial group, business group, owning 75 brands, being the most well-known, Vuitton, Moët & Chandon, and the like. So LVMH Group has bought a company in artificial intelligence, and they are now understanding and diving deep to understand on how to use artificial intelligence in future. So you see, because they believe that this is the future, this is not a trend, this is the evolution of society. Artificial intelligence will be big in 10 years. So they bought a company and they are already working on it to see how to use it in 5 years from now, for instance. So this is what I call following the evolution of society.
Well, I think that's been very fascinating. You give us a bit of a glimpse into the world of luxury brands, and obviously how it's evolving and how it's changing. And so many of us know a lot of these brands. Antonio Paraiso, marketing consultant and public speaker on luxury marketing. It's been such a pleasure having you on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thank you so much, Alexander. It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
As we get into the second half of the Sandton Times Hour this week, don't forget, if you heard something on the show this week, but you didn't get all the details, don't worry, you don't have to write it down. You can go onto the website, www.sandtontimes.co.za, and explore the comprehensive show notes. So all the information will be up there, and you can get some more links, some more reading, get details of people we spoke to, because I know it's always difficult to remember these names or remember what was discussed. So you can go on there in your own time and find all of that. And of course, don't forget to follow the Sandton Times on your preferred social media platform at Sandton Times. This past week, I had the pleasure of visiting Rockets in Bryanston, and as you may know, if you've visited the Sandton Times website of late, you will know that they've done a bit of a refurb, which looks absolutely fabulous in person. I mean, the photos are great, but I do encourage you to make some time to go check it out in Hobart Centre. And they've really done some incredible work there. It looks absolutely gorgeous, but even more exciting is also that they've got some really great new dishes on the menu. I'm going to be joined by the man behind that menu, who gave us a bit of a taster of what's in store for people visiting Rockets. He's Chef Driaan van Niekerk. He's the Group Executive Chef at Rockets. And Chef Driaan, it's good to have you on the Sandton Times Hour.
Sure. Thank you for having me, bud.
Driaan, it was good to see you. I think there's never anybody who's unhappy with seeing a chef, because it's always linked to having some good meals lined up. And I think you did a really great job this past week. But before we get into your role at Rockets right now and kind of what you've been doing there, I think for those people who are not familiar with your work, it'd be great to find out how you got to where you are right now. I mean, what is your culinary journey?
I started when I was very, very, very young. I started as a runner at a hotel in Strathspey. It's a small little village town. And the hotel doesn't exist anymore. But I was working there as a runner with my mom. She was assistant general manager there. She had a big history of the bank. She worked with Bankfin and my dad as well. So we moved quite a lot. Then I started making pizzas at a place called Pizza World. And I've just been climbing the ranks, front of house, back of house. And I came to Joburg about 10 years ago, eh? And then from there on, I joined a big restaurant group and helped them set up and push through, which is quite a successful brand at the moment. And it's been for years. Then I did a concept. I took a year's break and I started consulting a bit. Did a concept in Bedford View, help put that together. It's a nice cafe, nice style. It's also nice and busy at the moment. And then I joined Rockets. To bring in a new set of theatre, a new set of taste, flavors. Like I said, this menu, I see it as cherry. It's like, imagine a cherry in your mind and then imagine the menu. It's not fully cherry, but that's kind of how I see the menu.
I mean, you've got a remarkable food history, and for those people who've got time to have a chat to you when they see you at Rockets, I think I encourage them to do that, because I think you're quite humble in terms of some of the stuff you've done, and we're not going to go into all the details right now, because there's so much to discuss in terms of this new menu. But what I do find quite interesting is that you kind of came into Rockets, as far as I understand, to bring a bit of theatre and some new textures to the menu. And tell me a little bit more about what does that mean when people say, bring in a story, bring in some theatre, bring in some theatrics?
So with food, there's a lot of restaurants in South Africa and all over the world. And, you're not going to open a restaurant if you don't have good food. And, the market at the moment is it's all about the theatre. What theatre is but what entices you, what gives you a reason to take your phone out and record and then make it memorable, So and textures. I always use this as an example. So imagine your tongue and you see a mirror, like a mirror or a chair or something. I know it's going to sound gross, but without putting your tongue against that object, in your mind, your tongue already knows what it feels like and tastes like, but you remember that, but you haven't never done it. Am I right?
Yep. So
that is textures for me. So, you can have good flavor in food, but people don't always remember flavor. They remember texture. And like, I made you the first course, I made you the tempura prawn ritz. You remember the texture of the avo in your mouth.
Absolutely. I mean,
and then drinking the wine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now you're giving it all away.
So that's how that's kind of how I think when it comes to cooking and putting it together, and then how the wine makes you feel, and then how it just all comes together. That's textures for me.
I mean, it's interesting because you don't have any formal training per se. You're self-taught, and yet you've managed to really develop these incredible dishes. I mean, there is a certain level of, I'd almost say, natural talent there. It's quite amazing because a lot of people feel like they want to go into the restaurant business, they want to go into kitchens, they want to cook for people, but yet if they haven't been to some sort of gastronomic college or whatever it is, then they can never get started, and that's, you've kind of almost proven the opposite.
100%. I had a rough journey growing up, but it's passion. I used to watch the cooking shows on TV and stuff, and so I wanted to be there. But I was young when I started. I was like, 14, 15. I was into it, and it just became a lifestyle for me. And, after school, I just want to be in the kitchen. And I was fortunate enough in my career to be allowed to be in that spaces. And it's also many years ago. So, and the passion just grew. It just grew. And but I think it's just also understanding. It's about investment into a passion, and just doing it every single day. Work long hours, but it's worth it in the end. It's what you get out of it. It's expressions, and like the day you guys dined there. I think you were a tough crowd in the beginning, and I think you guys it just became, when I would, like in the third course, I could see you guys were loose, you were happy, and that's what I work for. That makes it worth everything.
Well, you've also won a couple of awards for your work, which I think is probably also very rewarding, and at least it's sort of almost like an external tick box to say, like, whatever you're doing seems to be resonating and seems to be landing. In terms of this new menu at Rockets, and just maybe to contextualize as well, there were a couple of media colleagues that had a chance to at least get a bit of a taste of the different dishes that you've got on offer. How did you go about putting together this menu? Because as I say, we had a chat over lunch, and there was also a long conversation around how there were many dishes on that menu for, a good 17 odd years that were very reluctant to leave the menu. So to be able to scrap that and replace them with brand new dishes is quite a daunting challenge.
It was. I'm actually very fortunate that Sean, the owner of Rockets, said to me, Driaan, I'm giving you a carte blanche in a sense. And, but with teamwork and discussing and motivating, we put the menu together, and some of the old dishes, we just revamped it, re-looked at it, retasted it, and then decided, we're going to keep it or we're going to remove it. Something which was on a Rockets menu, which I think is incredible, is the habanero wings. And the way they make it, I've never made anything like that before. And I was like, we're keeping this. We're just going to change the plating. It's very spicy. It's not something I can really eat every day, but there's customers who enjoy it, and it's such a big mover. And then the Johnny Bravo pizza, also a super favorite, but we just changed it into making it a Neapolitan style pizza made differently. We don't have a wood burning oven, but with practice and tweaking and up and down implementing, we figured out the electric ovens we got, which we call the modern oven. And that's how we make our Neapolitan style pizzas. It's got a whole different texture, feel, and taste and flavor to it. So it was a lot of developing, and but a few exciting things coming. I'm actually launching menu mainland tomorrow, so that's exciting. The teams in the kitchen are super excited. Then in August, I want to do a chef's table. So you'll be seeing some reels and be innovative and create and more theatre and more aspects around it with some wine pairing.
Well, listen, the ribs are also absolutely fabulous as well. So if you're listening and you want to try some things, there's a couple of suggestions. And Driaan, you're now also looking after the venue in Umhlanga, and you've also got one in Menlyn as well. So there's two other spots. But Driaan, I must tell you, it was a really great opportunity to meet you, great opportunity to try some of your stuff, and encourage people to come and visit you at Rockets. And thank you so much for making the time to be on the Sandton Times Hour.
No, thank you so much for inviting me.
Connect with the Sandton Times. Email editor@sandtontimes.co.za.
So just ahead of the weekend, I caught up with the CEO of the Gautrain, Tshepo Kgobe, outside the Sandton station as the train celebrated 14 years of operations. And he was out and about with the team from the Gautrain engaging with commuters. And I kicked off our chat by asking him about this initiative.
It's about us saying thank you for all our customers that have spent so much time with us over the years. It's been 14 years, but in that 14 years, we've had difficult times, we've had beautiful times, and we've had times where we were not happy with each other. But today it's just all to say thank you and thank you and thank you.
Sandton was the genesis of the Gautrain. I remember when it opened because the Sandton Times started 14 years ago, just before the Gautrain opened.
Yes.
What are some of your unique memories of the past decade of the Gautrain?
I've been here, so the joke in the office, I know where the bodies are buried on the line. So I've been here since 2005 when we were designing the system in itself.
Oh, wow.
So I was probably one of the first 20, 30 people on the project itself. When we started off in 2005, I remember it was October 2005. At that point in time, it was, South Africans, no, this won't work, and this and that, and everything else. But 14 years later, we're still going strong.
I still remember the challenges with the engineering, digging the holes, the water coming into the tunnels, people saying, will it be ready for the World Cup? And yet you managed to push on, and you've managed to have a system that's been running seamlessly for the last 14 years.
Yes, I mean, it wasn't. These are not easy projects. I'll be honest with you. I mean, as we now venture into our new foray of Gautrain 2 and then going towards Soweto, that in itself it's going to be some heavy lifting. But it is always those kind of projects that are difficult to do that actually end up being the best in what they do in all in all. And we've managed to achieve we've just been through our 195 million customer, unique passenger that has been on the system. So in the past decade, I mean, we've had good times. We've had, rugby fans on what do they call it on the system. When we welcomed the Springboks just the other day, it was just an incredible moment as we ferried everybody to the. But we've had moments when we've had to say farewell to a few people. We've had difficult challenges in doing a lot of things as a nation. But through it all, we are one nation that is resilient, and that's the only word you could ever. And the system is built like that. It's built in such a way that it's very resilient.
The Gautrain was originally built to fulfill a key purpose in the public transport mix. Have you felt that it's achieved that? And what are the plans going forward for it? Because obviously this is only the beginning.
I think we have to start with its original purpose, because a lot of people have forgotten about the original purpose of what do they call it. The original purpose of the Gautrain was a transport project that was intended to revitalize the economy of the province. And when it comes to that, I mean, we the buildings in and around us now are only purely the testament to that intent to revitalize the economy. I mean, in 2019, we did a study on the economic impact of the Gautrain, and the South African Property Owners Association showed that 59% of all buildings that have been built around South Africa as a whole were built around Gautrain stations, including these ones, and that's by value. So you've not only built beautiful buildings, but you've built buildings that will actually have, increase the property value all around.
And in terms of the plans going forward for the Gautrain, I mean, you've been in this configuration, the stations you've currently had up until now. I know there's been ongoing discussions and planning around how it could expand, how it could fit into other parts of the public transport system.
So we are almost there. I think the South-Western Township lines, the Soweto line in itself will start just at the back here on 5th Street, where we will introduce Sandton 2. Which will be connected through tunnels to Sandton 1, which is the station we're standing on now. And it will then cut across to Marlborough to enable Marlborough to then connect back to Sandton and then go out to Randburg. And from Randburg, then we'll go to Cosmo City. And then Little Falls, and then from Little Falls, we'll go through the Roodepoort Bridge to Roodepoort in the city itself. And then ultimately to Soweto near the theatre.
Some interesting stats around the Sandton station. How busy has the station been? Would you say that this is the
hub?
The heart of the system?
This is the heart of the operations. 70% of people coming from the north get off here, and 70% of the people going anywhere on the system, coming from the east and coming from the north, and then returning back in that direction and even going south, get off at this station.
And generally the split between South Africans versus internationals using the system, are you seeing an even split, or is there sort of a bias towards one of the two?
It is South Africans mostly, and they swear by it, and I'm happy about that, and I am grateful for that. But it is what's interesting is that a lot of South Africans are advising their international visitors to actually do the same. I was with a group of people that had come to the from Austria that had come to the Africa Rail Conference just recently on Tuesday and Wednesday. They said to me when they asked, how do we get to, what do they call it, from the airport to Sandton safely? And they were told, no, just get on the train. And they said we were a bit skeptical about it, but today we will never ever use any other system to get around.
I've got similar stories to share with you. I've also met people at the airport who had never used it, and once they tried it, they had a great time, and they couldn't believe that South Africa had such advanced trains and such advanced infrastructure available to people. What are some of the things that are keeping you up at night at the moment as we go into the second half of 2024?
So we have to get the new contract for operating in place. That is important, and that is key to everything else. So there isn't a point at which we leave South Africans, high and dry and with nobody operating the system in 2026. That's the first thing. We also have to close the current contract, tie it neatly with a bow. Those that ride into the sunset, may they ride into the sunset. But also there's the bit where we've created jobs, and those jobs, a lot of them have to be preserved. And how do we look at it, and how do we make sure that we preserve the right jobs and we keep those who are employed now in the right jobs? Because the important thing is that the kind of train drivers we have on the Gautrain, they don't exist anywhere else in South Africa.
Yeah.
So they are unique to the system, things like that. So you will have to think through how do you process the change, and that is those are the things that as we close out and we reopen the new concession, we have to think about what happens. Thirdly, we have to think about the expansions of the Gautrain, and we one of the key things and the key priorities of the government of provincial unity will probably be seized with that, with us, how do we expand the lines, but how do we reignite the economy again? Because that is important. You're not going to be able to create jobs without bringing infrastructure in place, and the Gautrain is key, and it's ready and waiting.
And that was CEO of the Gautrain, Tshepo Kgobe, chatting to me about the latest developments at the Gautrain. And with that, it's all we have time for this week on the Sandton Times Hour. As always, it's available as a podcast straight after the show on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Podcast Party, and so many more leading digital audio platforms. If you want to get in touch, you can email editor@sandtontimes.co.za or connect on social media @Sandton Times. And of course, visit the website www.sandtontimes.co.za, and feel free to send through your questions, your comments, your feedback. All of those are welcome. Thank you to our guests for this week, for making the time to be on. Of course, also the team that makes all of this happen and possible, and it all comes together as it does. And thank you, of course, for listening, and we'll do it all again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the Sandton Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.